Hey everybody, Tom Barnes, stories from the 78 from the shores of Lake Michigan here in the Edgewater neighborhood. You know, I love doing this segment because I get to meet really good Chicago people doing great Chicago things. Mark Warnaar, not a exception to that rule at all. He is by far one of the most interesting people I've met. Carpenter by day, a former chef, but also current chef. He's been cooking Sher Shabbat here at this synagogue up in the Edgewater neighborhood for the better part of 20 years. That's him right now with his son getting some Sher Shabbat ready now for this story from the 7-8. We're going to talk to both of them. All right, so we're getting ready for Sher Shabbat. I'm here with Mark Warnaar. How are you, sir?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. So you do this every second Friday of the month at this particular synagogue, the Sher Shabbat, correct?
Yes. This is my synagogue that I belong to.
Yes. And you were a chef in your early years for like 5 years, but you've been volunteering here for the past 20, and you are no longer a chef. You're a carpenter now, but you do this to volunteer to give back.
No, that's correct. I've been out of the business for a long time.
Yeah.
But it's a great business. It's a fun business, you know.
And you wanted to give back to your synagogue by doing Sher Shabbat. So tell me how the whole thing started. I mean, 20 years is a long time to be doing this. And you were, in the voting for a James Beard Community Award, correct?
It's called the Favorite Chef.
Yes.
And it's more of a contest of how many votes you can get, how many people are behind you and know you. And,
yeah.
And with this community here, we have a great community. I thought that's why I joined it. Because I thought, wow, there's a great community here. They're going to vote for me. And it took me pretty far.
Yeah. And you've been doing the Sher Shabbat for over 20 years at this particular synagogue.
Correct.
And what made you want to do this? What made you want to give back and do, because it's not for a small amount of people.
No. Well, for one, it's fun. It's hard work. Don't make no mistake.
Yeah.
But when my kids were 5, my boys were 5, they were ready to go to religious school. And so we joined here and we started going to events. And one of them was Sher Shabbat. Because the event Sher Shabbat has been going on for a long time.
Sure.
But what it was back then is people would bring in sides, right? Like all random sides. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't know what you'd get. And then in here they'd get potatoes and roast chicken from a grocery store. Mm-hmm. And they'd plate it and bring it out. And after going a few times, I just came in. Oh, and they asked me to help. So I came in and helped one time. And then the next time I said, why don't you just have me make the chicken and potatoes? So then I started making the chicken and potatoes. And then I started introducing sides in the front. Mm-hmm. And then people stopped bringing stuff.
Because you made it so good, right?
And plus, at the time, remember, this was 20 years ago, and we may be this, like, you think we're a very liberal society. Back then, still women were the people that cooked at home.
Sure.
But then they were working. So now you have women working, and wait a minute, I have to cook and bring it to Shabbat again?
Right, that's a lot.
And then make Shabbat at 6 o'clock, you know? So I think it was a relief for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But a lot of people also wanted to contribute, and then we did, why don't you guys do desserts? Bring desserts. And so then the pandemic happened, so we did it many years, and it was just a buffet. Right? I didn't know who was coming, how many people, and I would just make mass quantities of food.
Okay.
And people would eat a lot of it, or they'd eat some stuff, because every meal I make a meat, I make a fish, and I make a vegetarian. Mm-hmm. And then they share sides. So when the pandemic happened, we got shut down, obviously, because no one else worked. So I thought, how can we make this keep going? How can we keep this thing going? And we started to do to-goes. Oh. So I made to-goes of the same meal, and you paid for it online, so you had to pick your meal. Mm-hmm. Like you want meat, fish, or veg, and then we could put them in a container and a bag, and then you showed up at the front door, and they would walk it out to you, and boom. And that kept Sher Shabbat going. We have done a lot of to-goes, and we still do to-goes because we like doing it. Yeah. So you could come, anyone could come, even if you don't want to go to service. 5:30, you order your online, you order your to-go, at 5:30 on that Friday. You come and pick it up.
Where do people order online?
Schulcloud.
But this actually started for you personally just at home, right? With your kids and inviting people over on Sundays prior to this, or did that all happen
Well,
at
I
once?
always loved to cook, and I always cooked at home. And when I was single, I cooked, and for myself and for friends. And so we had a situation where elderly mother-in-law, mother and mother-in-law, and we had to get to see her more, and more that she wanted to know that she was going to see us.
She wants something to look forward to.
Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
So I said, well, let's do Sunday dinner. And then we had kids in high school and then later in college, and we said, you can invite as many people as you want, and it's a party for you too. So we would get an average Sunday dinner. I think Albert just told me he thought it was like 18.
Holy cow. And you're in Rogers Park, so you're in the city, right? So it's not like you're in this sprawling suburban mansion where you can have all this room. You're making it work in the city as good Chicagoans do.
I did a Passover meal once in my yard. We rented a tent.
Yeah, I bet you did.
And for $50.
Wow.
And made turducken.
Lovely. I've had that before. That's fantastic. Yeah. So what is important to you to do this, not only for your family, but for your synagogue?
Well, it's gotten to be where I really want the synagogue to succeed. And it's hard for not-for-profits like this, I think, to go and to make a go of it. And we have a great cantor and a great music director, and the services here are amazing. I mean, they're really fun, and there's a lot of singing. And, it's not just like quiet contemplative prayer. It's like singing. And
yeah, you said, is it Reformed? Is that the word?
It's Reformed synagogue, yeah.
What does that mean for folks that don't know?
That Reform?
Yeah.
You have Reform, then Conservative and Orthodox and Ultra-Orthodox. There's also a Reconstructionist. So it's like you could be Episcopalian or Methodist or Catholic. It's a level, it's hard to explain. I mean,
is it not as traditional or as strict, would you say?
Well, I think Shelley would say she likes, she thinks she's pretty observant, and that's our cantor.
Okay.
And she says she pretty strict, and she reads Torah,
liberal,
and maybe more liberal, than others.
And is that why you feel like this is so successful, that people come here because it's just this welcoming environment, maybe a little bit more liberal for folks who are looking for something different than what they had growing up or what they know? Yeah,
a lot of people tell me that they grew up too strict, and they like coming here. Plus, if you have a mixed family, Catholic and Jewish.
And that happens a lot in Chicago, right?
And you're welcome here.
The dinner itself, we're in the kitchen, and the reason why we're in the kitchen, because you're getting stuff ready. But this is where you cook every second Sunday of the month?
Saturday.
I'm sorry. Friday. See?
Friday. No, it's okay.
It's all right. It's fine. So why don't you walk me through what you're doing right now, like how you're preparing things? We can walk around a little bit.
Sure. This is, I'm doing a chicken thigh chimichurri. Now, for normal Shir Shabbats, we'll do like a lot of these,
Yeah.
Not just these small pans.
Like 50, 60, 100?
Well, for instance, I did a French roast chicken dinner, and I spatchcocked 28 chickens.
Oh, that's a lot. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
So, I mean, this is 120 people, maybe 150, something like that.
So that's this, and what do we got going on the other side?
So what I did here is I boned the chicken breast, and now I'm going to peel the skin off, or maybe not. And then this is skirt steak.
Skirt steak is wonderful. And then what's going on over here?
With salt
Are
and
these
pepper.
the sides?
And this is a recipe it's a French frog leg recipe, but we're making it with chicken.
Okay.
And then to make it gluten-free, we're using potato starch.
Okay.
And then we're using plant butter because you can't mix milk and meat when you're cooking in a synagogue.
Right.
When you're cooking kosher style, like we say.
And that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
You do kosher style dinner here, correct?
Yeah. Well, in order to be kosher, we have to have essentially two kitchens. Everything has to be separate. So there's what they call a dairy side and a meat side. So in the meat side, there are rules where you can't mix milk and meat is one of them.
Right.
And on the dairy side is things you can use like fish, and you can mix milk and meat with fish. But I thought, instead of doing a dairy meal all the time, which would be simpler, because then I'm open to all my sauces, I sort of expand things and try and use alternative ingredients like plant butter and like oat milk for mashed potatoes.
Sure.
You know, you think, how am I going to make mashed potatoes and not put butter in there? You know.
Yeah.
So I've made olive oil mashed potatoes, but it didn't do it for me. But this plant butter is great stuff.
And this is something that you've developed over time. You didn't grow up Jewish. You were married into somebody who was Jewish, right?
Yeah.
So you had to learn all this when you met your wife and had
when I started cooking here.
Yeah, when you started having, exactly, yeah. So trial and error you've learned, and that's usually when you get the best product in the end is years of trial and error, right?
Well, I didn't know one time I was going to make a sole marinier, which is a classic French fish dish. And we put it in the menu, and then a congregant called me and said, hey, you can't make that because sole is a flat fish and they weren't kosher.
Oh.
So I did tilapia, which is kosher.
Sure.
But, so people were checking up on me all the time, like, you can't do this, you can't do this. You know, I'd ask people, or they would say, hey, did you know that? You know?
It had to be a lot, and to just get all that under...
To figure out, you think it's just milk and meat. It's a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But you did get your culinary chops at some big-time restaurants back in the 80s. Why don't you just walk through those a little bit, if you would mind.
Well, first, I think I hit them here, because
fair enough.
This is like cooking mass quantities and getting things together like that.
Uh-huh.
But I worked for a great restaurateur named George Bodansky in the 80s. And he owned the Tango. He owned George's, which is across from the Merchandise Mart. And he owned another restaurant. It's probably a hotel there now. It's like State and Grand.
Okay.
And that was called Bastille. Bastille was a great place because every 14th of July, is that Bastille Day?
Bastille Day, yeah. I think so.
They would have a giant outdoor party. All these food. We'd all get called there, and we have to make food there in this outdoor party. And they would have like a French waiters race where you had to balance glasses and run. So it was he was crazy, but he was great.
And that was the beginning of your culinary journey. And then you went to carpentry, and you've been doing that professionally, and you've been doing this
for 40 years. Yeah.
Wow. Where do you have time to have time for yourself? Or is this what I mean, I know you do this. You spend time with your son, right?
Yeah.
And be able, so it's all fully family fare. Hello. Thought I'd give him some love.
Well, Al's luckily we got Al back from New York, so he worked he went to the CIA, graduate of the Culinary Institute of America.
Wow.
And then he's been working at the Modern, which is a 2 Michelin star restaurant too, in New York City.
So you got a little help.
Yeah. So now I got help.
Yeah. But did you grow up doing this with your dad?
I mean, ever since elementary school, I wanted to learn how to cook from my dad. And I remember the first thing he told me, like the week I went up to him and asked him to teach me how to cook. Back then, it was yahoo.com.
Uh-huh.
They had Yahoo food series with Fabio Viviani.
Fabio Viviani.
Yeah. Chicago area chef.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then he would do classic Italian dishes, and he'd say, every day watch a video, and then at the end of the week, we'll cook something. So every day, I'd watch a video, I'd caught up, then cooked with him at home, started the Sunday dinners, and then at that time, we were doing these Share Shabbat events, and every once in a while, I'd be helping more and more, doing something a little bit more and more serious.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it was like learning how to cook with my dad. It was learning how to do like an essential part of life. Because I didn't go straight away to the Culinary Institute. I went to jazz school, then I went to a junior college and played college baseball. And it wasn't until I figured out, like, on my off time, I'm watching cooking videos, I'm talking to my dad about food, I'm cooking stuff for all my teammates or the people around me.
Yeah, you're probably pretty popular back
I was
then.
like, maybe I like doing this. Maybe I should look into this.
Maybe the years of watching dad do this and helping dad has planted a seed, if you will, all right?
Yeah, and I think something that makes my dad's cooking especially cool, it's not just family recipes. Whenever he's at home and he has off time, he's reading food articles, he's learning new recipes. He wants to know what people are still cooking now. He reads numerous food publications. He's always looking at cookbooks, old and new. So he's not just looking at the recipes he's done for a long time. He's like, what can I do now for the people at the temple? We'll like test it at the house sometimes. Sometimes he'll just say, no, let's go for it. 100 people, new recipe, let's just do it.
Nothing like just diving in, right?
Oh yeah, so it's forever changing.
I don't have time because I work.
Yeah, sure.
I take 2 days off to do this meal.
Yeah, and we're so lucky that we get volunteers.
Yeah, we have
The
great
volunteer team has really stepped up. They've seen what we do here. Some people realize that they're better off coming to the dinners, but we found this really good core group of people.
There's a term that says too many
Yeah.
cooks in the kitchen, right? For a reason.
Yeah, I mean,
It's not the bear in here,
No, it's not.
but it's serious.
But
Yeah.
when you were talking, it's funny that you bring up the bear because you were talking about leaving home, going to pretty prestigious school, coming back. It sounded familiar from if people have watched the bear.
Yes.
Coming back
Yes.
home. But what does this mean for you that your son is here doing this with you? Coming back home. I know it's summer break and the whole thing, but what's it mean to be doing this with your son?
No, it's
and your
amazing.
family.
We're always glad to see how we have fun cooking together, and we're overjoyed having him home for now. We're trying to get him to stay.
Yeah, that's tough. Well, what's it mean for you that your dad's been doing this for most of your life, I imagine, most of what you can remember, to be able to come home and do this with him? What does this mean to you as a son looking at what your father does, to provide for family, not just the family in your house, but family in
I
general?
mean, it's pretty amazing. Growing up, all my friends, we were the house to come to for dinner.
Oh, I bet.
But then, no matter where I go, whenever I talk about home, I just have like the coolest dad doing like the coolest stuff, and I'm pretty lucky to have that. And because he stays up on his knowledge, it's not just, it's like a back and forth conversation. He's giving me new ideas, I'm giving him new ideas, and no one I know has that kind of relationship with their father, even ones that cook.
Yeah.
So it's really fun to come home. The professional side of the hospitality industry can be very intense.
Sure, yeah.
To come home, still do what I love, which is making food, but to do it in an environment that is cool, experimenting, but with people that I love being around. It's what it's about.
Look at that. Well done. Well said, gentlemen. Well, it's a pleasure to have been able to help tell your story. And, people who want to come by, you said that you don't have to even go for service. They can order online, pick it up if they want to just get their feet wet.
You have to pick it up, yeah.
Yeah, you have to pick it up. But you have to come by the synagogue and say the name of the synagogue for me just so we make sure.
Emmanuel Congregation, 5959 North Sheridan.
Look at that. Well, and then they can come by here.
Well, they can come for to-go. They can order to-goes, and we'll give you a link to do that. But you want to come in and eat, come in and eat.
By all means, right?
And if you want to come to service, you can.
Yeah.
We don't want you to make you Jewish or anything. I'm not.
It's all about it's about community.
About the community, and then after the meal, then people go in to a sanctuary and they have service.
Sure.
They don't have it in the dining area.
Not all about the family that you have, but the family that you choose to have.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
All right, that is the story from the 78 down here in Edgewater, TomBarneyChicago at gmail.com. If you have a story from the 78 suggestion, or hit me up at the website, storiesfromthe78.com. And look at this view. Just walk a little bit, and this is what's beautiful about Chicago.